Hi, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Today we have a question from our friend Nico, who says, Hello Ramsey, as you speak of weight. I guess I made a video about weight that Nico was commenting on. This reminds me of a question I'm asking myself for some time now. Maybe it's obvious when you are a fighter, but I'm not. And even if I trained in martial arts when I was younger, I never did compete. So this was never a question I dwelled on. There we go. Is there really a notable physical strength difference between a 50-kilo guy and a 55-kilo guy? And is this a big advantage? When I look in boxing, that a four-category... I don't think English is the native language here, so I'm trying to bear with this question here. A four-category gap. So I guess the answer is yes, but if I gain or lose 5 kilograms myself, I do not feel any differences in my day-to-day living. I'm around 100 kilos, so maybe that's why. Also, why the difference is around 1.5 to 2 kilograms in the lighter weight classes, but from 5 to 10 kilos in the higher weight classes. Is the muscle mass less of a factor as you get heavier? And how did these weight categories, how were they decided in the first place? I guess there is more in there than random numbers. I hope that this question doesn't sound too stupid, but I'm really wondering. Okay, it's not a stupid question. It's not a stupid question. So it sounds like you're talking about boxing weight classes. Boxing weight classes are much smaller as far as the division of units of weight than, say, MMA, where they're a little bigger. But the thing that is consistent is that, like you said, in the upper weight classes, there is a wider margin of weight than there is in the smaller ones. Okay? So it doesn't make a difference. Is a 55-kilo guy really that much stronger than a 50-kilo guy? Does a 5 kilos make that big of a difference? It can. Not all weight is created equal. If you had a 55-kilo guy who was just out of shape, who never exercised, who never trained, who never lifted, who had no muscle on him, and a 50-kilo strongman, a little tank of a guy. Who's stronger? The athlete, obviously, right? But take two guys. Take two strongmen. One at 50 kilos, one at 55, and they're both in peak physical condition. Who's stronger? The heavier one. So those boxing weight classes, MMA weight classes, combat sports weight classes in general work under that assumption that these are athletes who have trained to be the best athlete they can possibly be. And so the assumption is that the 55-kilo fighter is going to have 5 extra kilos of lean, useful, explosive body mass that can help them and aid them to win that fight. Is that always the case? No. But ideally, yeah, that is what it is based on. How did the weight divisions originally start? I don't know. They used to be different. They used to be way different. I mean, back 100 years ago, the heavyweight division, I think you could get into the heavyweight division at like 170 pounds. And, I mean, man, like when Jack Dempsey won the heavyweight world title back in the year 1919, 101 years ago, how much did he weigh? According to his own book, he weighed about 175 pounds. I believe the official weigh-in, they announced him as 180 or 185, but in his own book, he said he only weighed like 175 pounds, and he weighed in with his clothes on and all this. So, yeah, man. Tommy Burns, that was another really small heavyweight. He was smaller than Jack Dempsey. Really small heavyweight champion. So back in the day, there were some tiny heavyweights. But at the same time, the heavyweight division back then had no upper weight limit. So it could be a 300-pound guy fighting, somebody like Jack Dempsey or... and it almost was. Almost was. I believe Jess Willard, what was he, like 265, 270 when he fought Jack Dempsey back in 1919? But they changed the weight classes. Why did that happen? A bunch of boxing commissioners got together and decided that's the way it should be. They made their best approximation, their best guess of how do we make this sport a little safer, perhaps? How do we make this sport a little more interesting? And also, how do we create more revenue for this sport? And a simple way to do that, create more weight divisions. And then you have more champions, more championship fights. Do you remember when the UFC, when they first introduced weight classes, they only had a couple of them. I think it was welterweight, middleweight, and heavyweight. And then later on they added a lot more weight divisions, and now they're adding even more. And discussing adding, like super welterweights and all that. But back in the early 2000s, it was still just those 3 weight classes. And it was cool. It was cool because I think everybody knew who the champions were, who watched UFC anyway. Not everybody watched UFC back then. It was still a very, very niche sport. And for those of you about to say, that's not how you say the word niche, it's niche. Guys, every time I say that word, somebody complains about that. That is one of the acceptable alternate pronunciations of the word niche. Deal with it. English is a diverse language spoken by billions of people across planet Earth. And we all have our own accents and dialects and idiolects. Deal with it. That being said, does it make a big difference for the heavier weight classes to have a larger margin, a bigger leeway? Because again, in the teeny tiny division, like you said, it's just a couple of kilos, maybe 5 kilos, and in the upper weight classes, 10, 15, 20. Yeah, when you get to be bigger, it makes less of a difference. I would love to see, at least in the UFC, I would love to see a super heavyweight division. Oh man, I think that would be amazing. That would answer a lot of questions. Maybe it would actually suck in real life. Who knows? But it would answer so many questions. Because we have a lot of big dudes cutting down from like 300 pounds to get to the max of 265. What if they just created a division for those guys? Had super heavyweight, no upper weight limit. Let the giants fight, let the titans go at it. That would be cool. I would love that. I would watch that. Wouldn't you? Anyway, Dana White, if you're watching, there's a free idea. Take it, please. The bigger weight advantage you have, the more power you can put into a strike. It's that simple. I made a video a few years back about Bruce Lee versus Muhammad Ali, who would win in a fight. And I postulated that Muhammad Ali would win in a fight for a number of reasons. That he had more experience, that he was like twice Lee's size, that he was faster and more athletic, and I threw out a bunch of reasons, and a lot of the Bruce Lee fans got angry. How dare you blaspheme our deity? Bruce Lee was indestructible. Okay, be angry about that. But I got a lot of comments from well-intentioned people saying, size and strength don't matter in a fight. Hundreds and hundreds of comments from people telling me size and strength don't matter in a fight. Okay, it's one thing if you think that Bruce Lee was a better fighter than Muhammad Ali. It's one thing if you think he would have won that fight if they had fought. But it's another entirely to ignore the reality of our physical universe, that size and strength actually do matter a great deal in a fight. If you say that, you don't know what a fight is. You don't. If you say that, you are probably somebody who has never been hit by a heavyweight in your life. You are probably somebody who has never had a 400-pound man, 3 times your size, several times your strength, laying on top of you, crushing your rib cage with the sheer volume of his weight and size alone, without any technique at all. And you have probably never fought a large, strong, technical, athletic, and aggressive human. Size and strength matter a great deal in fights. And so to ensure that fights are as fair as possible, it makes sense to put the fighters in weight classes that are as close as reasonably possible. I hope that answers your question. Thank you for watching. Now get out there and train.